Hi guys, welcome to my channel. So I'm just gonna kind of get into it, how I started fasting and how I made it actually successful for myself, what tools I use, the tips, the lessons I've learned along the way, and I'm just gonna go through everything and I'm gonna jump around everywhere, but hopefully you stay on my train of thoughts. So when you're first starting out fasting, what I did, it's very hard to kind of just get into it, like just say I'm just fasting right now, because it depends on what your diet is like. So if it's like if there's overeating, if there's sweets, a lot of like carby sweets, and the list goes on. So if you're starting off like that, the best thing you can do is kind of like prep yourself and wean into it, because that is like the most non-torturous way of getting into fasting. Unless you've got like a ton of like overwhelming motivation, then you can just do it. But for example, you can stop eating at 6 p.m. So just like for today, for example, say I'm gonna stop eating at 6 p.m. and then stop eating at 6 p.m. and the next day say I'm gonna stop eating at 4 p.m. and the day after I'm gonna stop eating at 2 p.m. So finally, when you get to the point of where you stop eating at 2 p.m., this may take like a few days to a week, depending on you and your diet, but that's kind of how I weaned into it. And also, first of all, you got to take out all of that sugary stuff. You got to take out all the like the carbs, like the processed carbs, and then it's a lot easier. Put in more protein. Protein gives you strength, and I definitely discovered on my refeed days I was able to have a lot more strength for the next coming days of fasting if I had a good protein source on my refeed days. And eat lots of vegetables, put more vegetables in. Another wonderful thing that I just discovered like a few days ago is, instead of apple cider vinegar, which I know they always say apple cider vinegar, but for some reason apple cider vinegar never did me any good. It did me maybe a little bit, but it wasn't like the kind of effects that other people had. So I just discovered red wine vinegar. It beats apple cider vinegar so much, and it's like, not even to mention the fact that it's so much less expensive, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the mother's there, I just get the cheapest brand, just apple cider vinegar, no like all the other ingredients, whatever, just cheap brand like that. And I can tell you how well and how amazingly good my digestion is, how my belly goes flat just like that. Red wine vinegar over apple cider vinegar is another huge help in digestion, especially if you've eaten a large meal and you want to get that down, you want to get the digestion going. Okay, let me back up. I actually did fasting for 30 days when I was like in my early 20s. I did a whole month of fasting, and I fasted on water and kind of water with some lemon juice, like a tea thing. And that was torturous. That was so hard. That was like the hardest things I've ever done, because now I've learned about these electrolytes, that we pee out our electrolytes and that we need them, and we get them from things like salt, sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium are electrolytes. So if you add salt, Himalayan sea salt, or those kind of like natural salts, to your water, and you can also add no salt, which is just potassium, which that thing that I just told you, that got me into fasting all over again recently, and I lost a lot of fat just by drinking that. I did find it through Cole Robertson, I think his name is. I did find that recipe through him. So I discovered him, I decided to try it out and everything, and it worked really great for me. And during like, I don't know, it was like 2 months or something. Here is my whole chart that I had. This is a great motivational thing to do. See, this was in June. And I got this side as well, July. So this is just like my stats, you know, fat percentage, weight, what I did, what kind of exercise I did that day, when was my refeeds, so I could kind of like track the graphics of it. So I did discover that whole salt solution thing from him, and how much it extremely helped me. But I have a problem. I can't listen to him anymore. I just can't. Like, I don't know, because it's not like, it pumps me up, right? It pumps you up to listen to him about his snake diet and snake juice. But I just get so extremely angry, and I feel so mad at everything and everyone when I watch him. Like, it pumps me up to the point of being mad that I have not done this, or I'm not doing this, and then I am just kind of mad all day. And I don't like myself when I'm like that. So I have to find another direction to get to the same point, but kind of skip all that swearing that he does, and because it's just too much. And then my head is swelling all day with swearing and cursing and anger. So I just can't watch him. But the salt and potassium together is a really good idea. But instead of apple cider vinegar, I extremely would recommend red wine vinegar. Fasting has really changed how I feel about weight loss, how I feel about my own body image, how I feel about life, like, you know, not be so down and depressed in life. And especially coming from very strict dieting background, I used to be raw food diet, so I had, you know, a lot of like low calorie diets and felt very weak and lethargic. Not to say that all of these feel the same way, that's just how I felt. So coming from that point of view, fasting, I never wanted to fast because it was a scary thing for me, because I was always hungry. But when you have a refeed and you refeed yourself on real whole foods, I mean, like, you have your carb whole foods, you have your meat whole foods, and you have some vegetables, and those things are just like, it's what the body thrives on. And if you have your refeed with those things, then you really have so much more energy, and you want to actually fast. And those hormones, your body uses those foods to make hormones. So it's like you feel wonderful, you feel on top of the world, you feel on top of a mountain. With dieting, I always felt unconfident, even lethargic, insecure. But with fasting, it's completely the opposite. I feel very confident. Like, even when I'm saying, look at this, I'm just talking about it, and my body is like this. I feel very confident with fasting. When I fast, I feel so confident. I feel so like in power and in, what is it called, like togetherness? I don't know. It just feels completely opposite from dieting. That's why I don't like dieting at all anymore, because of like the whole, it's like so twisted. I don't know. It's like the whole restrictive dieting through restricted calories through dieting, and then like I'm talking about low calorie foods, and then you can eat a real meal, and then you can go fasting. And so it's like, I don't know, I feel more connected with humanity and the world, and I feel like I am worthy or something with fasting. With diets, your body is using a lot of like the nutrients from your own body, from your own bones, from, you know, it's like it's wearing down your body with dieting. But with fasting, it's building up your body, but taking away the fat, but it's strengthening your body. So you're looking younger with low calorie diets and all those like restricted dieting. You're looking more older, you're worn down more. But fasting kind of builds you up. It kind of makes you like you look younger, you look stronger. So it was about 6 days of fasting, cold fasting, and then I ate one day, and then the next day I went fasting again. So it basically was about the same thing all the time, about 6 days, 5 days, and then as I got less and less in weight, I could only do like 4 days, and then I had to refeed again. But that's the thing, that's kind of like the hard thing you have to figure out. To be able to keep fasting when you've lost more weight, because I think I got down to like 120 pounds or something. I'm like 126 now, so but when I first started I was 132, I believe. So I got down to 120. So that was a big change, and like the more you fast, I guess, depends on your body size, how much fat you have to break down from your body. But the harder it was to actually go longer days. And then I went for a time when I incorporated bone broth. So to be able to keep going those few extra days, just those few days, I had to be drinking some bone broth. And bone broth is fat and protein, so that is not supposed to break your fast, supposedly. So I was drinking some of that, just like some things that I was doing, because I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm gonna quit, I'm gonna eat. And by this time, I even got to a point where I was like laying on the floor, pleading, like, I don't want to, praying, I don't want to stop. I want this to be successful. I want to overcome, like gaining power over food. I want to have power over food. I want to be able to say no and mean no, and just the whole being free from food. Like all my life, every time it's been, I want to be free from food. I want to be free from food. And that's maybe how I got into the whole raw food thing. But that is really not the way to go. And I discovered that it is through fasting that you gain that kind of freedom, that you get out of that box, that thinking box, that you actually, for your first time in your life, you start to think differently. And recently I watched this video about this girl who said how fasting really screwed her up. She was gonna fast for like 50 days or something. And she was overweight, and it screwed her up. And then when she went back to eating, she regained the weight. And then she's talking about how it got her into binging and how this unhealthy mindset. And I just want to say something about that, because I kind of know where she's coming from. And for my opinion, the higher weight you start off with, the more it's gonna kind of like mess up your mind, because it happens so quickly. Your body changes so quickly, but your mind is not really there yet. So that's why she had to go back into the weight that she was, because she was not prepared. Her mind was not prepared for the weight loss. Her body lost the weight, but her mind was not there yet. So I'm just saying that maybe the long fasts are not the best. I think the shorter fast, like if you're really overweight, then 1 week and then do a refeed, and then 1 week and then do a refeed. And I think that is much better, because that kind of helps your mind to catch up with what is happening in your body. And then you'll be able to stay with it longer. You'll be like more at peace with the whole process.